All right, so we are right at 1 o'clock. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. We're happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us here virtually as we continue to socially distance during these tough times. We were going to talk about managing our finances or managing our finances in times of crisis, which is something that we're all thinking about these days. So hopefully you'll find this content useful. But before we get started, I just would like to say thank you again for joining us and taking the time to be here. The City of San Diego is one of our great partners with California Coast, and we're really happy to be able to do this in a little bit different format than normal. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the content here. But before we do, I want to introduce our speaker today. We have Taralyn Rose. She is a certified financial coach with California Coast Credit Union, and she has been with the credit union for many years, and it's just a wealth of knowledge. Some of you may have even already met her at some of our previous workshops. But she's going to go ahead and give us some great insight, and if you have questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them into the chat box, and we will answer those for you either as we go along or at the end. And there's also some handouts that should be showing on your screen. Please feel free to download those, including the evaluation form. I will give you an email address to send the eval form to at the end of the presentation. So we appreciate your feedback as always. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Taralyn.
There we go. I think I got myself unmuted. Sorry about that. Talking about financial crisis management, we have 4 steps here that we're going to go over today. How to research what you have, prioritize your expenses, communicate, and also set up a plan for the future. So we're going to dive right in with the next slide we have is talking about researching, which is going over and taking a look at all of the expenses that you have. We need to start writing down what we have in terms of, this is starting off with if you actually have income right now. Look, most of you still have some income coming in, but maybe you have someone who is not working as much, or you have less income coming in for some reason. So we're going to talk about if you have income, we're going to start researching the pay stub that you have. So 401k contributions, I want you taking a look at your pay stub and taking a look at what's coming out of that paycheck. If you have 401k contributions that you're doing right now, is this something that you can potentially stop for just a few months? It's not going to impact your long-term plan very much for retirement, but maybe that $300 a paycheck you have going to your 401k is something that you can use to help get you back on track from some short-term loss of income. If you have a 401k loan, maybe you can talk to your HR department, potentially defer payments on a 401k loan. I don't know how that works. But there's also, with the CARES Act that was put into place, you can actually make a withdrawal from your 401k with no penalty if you are being affected by COVID. So this is something that may help you. Now, with the 401k withdrawal, if you have it in a pre-tax type of investment, you will have to end up paying taxes next year on whatever you withdraw. But if you are in an emergency situation, that 401k withdrawal can help get you through the next couple of months. Flexible spending, the CARES Act is also, they expanded what you can use your flexible spending account for medical expenses. So you can use it for fever reduction, you can use it for braces, like all these different medical expenses. If you go to the FSA site, then you'll be able to look at what additional things you can use your 401k medical plan for, not 401k, your flexible spending plan. Life insurance, this is something that a lot of employees are paying extra for. It might not be the best time to go in and change that, because I don't want something to happen and you not have that life insurance policy in place. But maybe you can get something new. I was paying $15 a month for a $250,000 policy for 15 years. So if you go in and talk to someone at California Coast Credit Union, they can potentially get you more for less. So we're always looking at how can we use our income the most efficiently. We're also looking at tax withholdings, looking at your pay stub and looking at what's coming out for taxes. If you got money back, then this would be a really good time to hold your withholding for taxes, file exempt, and keep that money in your pocket now when you need it most. I don't want you to end up owing. So this is be really careful. But if you're just doing it for a month or two, we should be okay. Right. So we're just looking at ways that we can increase the income that we have right now. So if you have lost income, either someone in your family or you are unemployed or have reduced hours, the CARES Act did go in and look at unemployment and increase who's eligible and also increase the time that you can get it for and increase the money that you can get. So with the new CARES Act, you can receive unemployment benefits if you're unable to work due to you or your family diagnosed with COVID, you provide care for a sick person, or you're having to take care of your child who can't go to school, unable to reach your job, you're quarantined. Now, unable to reach your job, I was trying to rack my brain and figure out what kind of situation would keep you from preventing your job due to COVID. I couldn't come up with one, but it's on there. If your job was closed due to COVID or your spouse has passed away, I'm really sorry. I hope that never happens to anybody, but you can get the unemployment if something like that happens. The additional employment benefits that came through is in the state of California, normally you only get it for 6 months and you have to have a week waiting period. With this new CARES Act, the normal unemployment benefits have been extended to 39 weeks, and you're going to get an additional $600 per week through July 31st. So hopefully that will help you. The only problem with that right now that I see is that if you go to EDD's website, it'll tell you it normally takes about 3 weeks to process an application. There have been millions of people who have applied because of this, so that might be extended just a little bit. So I would take that in consideration when you apply and make sure that you have some other options as well. We're going to move on to the next slide, and we're going to talk about, we're still researching, and now we're kind of that gathering information stage. So we're going to look at what your monthly expenses, what you're paying for. Look at your bills, look at your debts, and we're going to look at regular monthly expenses. And we're going to look at, while we're gathering this information, also look at potential ways to reduce the bill amount that is going out the door. We're looking at holding on to every dollar that you earn so we can make it last as long as we can. So we're going to go through each of these, kind of gathered information, go through your bank statement and look at what you're paying for, look at credit card statements. There might be some things that are being charged automatically that you're not remembering. So we're going to start writing things down. Look at utilities, so SDG&E. Obviously, this is one of those vital things, and we do have to pay SDG&E to keep everything going. However, there are some ways that you can reduce that expense. There are a lot of programs available for people who have reduced or no income. SDG&E has quite a few programs available, so just if you haven't reached out to them already, call them and see what they have available for you. It's also a good time to look at ways of increasing the efficiencies of the utilities that you have, right? So it's a good time to vacuum out the coils in your refrigerator, to change the AC filter, to do a deep clean of the washer and the dishwasher to make sure that those are working as well as they can. It's also a good time to get some power strips for the big utilities that you don't use, the big appliances that you don't use very often, the washer and dryer, the microwave oven, your TV that you're not watching all the time, computer that you're not using all the time. Turn that power strip off to cut the electricity. When I did that with all of my big appliances, my bill went down $100. That's a really big reduction in what's going out the door. Also looking at your cable bill. I know that feels really, really, really important, but do you have to have all the extra premium channels, all the pay-per-view that you're doing, $6 extra? Can we reduce that? Maybe use Redbox instead. It's only $2. So we're looking at, again, ways to cut that bill down. Maybe this is a good time to call around and see what other services are out there and compare and see if we can lower that bill for you. Cell phone. It's a really important one for a lot of people. But if you take a look at your cell phone bill, is there anything on there that you can reduce? Can you pay less, use less minutes, all kinds of things, and also comparing competitors and looking and seeing who's out there. Maybe we can reduce the bill from $100 maybe down to $40. You're also going to take a look at the debts, writing everything down, secured loans, looking at car loans, home loans, writing all these bills down, student loans, A really, really awesome thing with the federal government, they actually deferred student loan payments through September and lowered the interest rate down to 0. So if you have student loans, most of them are automatically at 0% and they've deferred. You don't have a payment due till September. Do check in. There are a few that are not automatically done, but you can reach out and potentially not pay those bills for right now. Looking at your credit cards, write them all down, what the minimum payment is, any personal loans that you have. Again, write it all down. This is that research section, figuring out what exactly that we're paying for. Monthly expenses, groceries. This is something that you have to do. You have to eat. There's no way around it. But again, what options do we have to reduce some of those expenses? Can you one of my favorite websites, All Recipes. I can go in, type in what I have in my refrigerator, in my pantry, and it throws all these great recipes at me so that I can use what I have. Also, there, if you need assistance, foodpantries.org are available. Those are available for you. Places are available to help you with the food. Gasoline, such kind of a catch-22 right now that we're all working from home, most of us are, and gas prices are the lowest they've ever been, but hopefully that's an expense. But we're also writing down, looking at the monthly fixed expenses that you might have, such as Pandora or your gym. Look at the things that you might not be doing right now if you're paying for Disney, the monthly pass. Is there a way that we can stop doing this for right now? Again, none of this is forever. We're just writing all this stuff down to see what's going on and what's going out the door, okay? The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to toss out another poll for you because I feel that this is really a really good one. So we're going to, let me go back. Sorry, closed. I think I just, sorry about this, guys. I think I just accidentally closed my screen. Sharing. Okay, hopefully, let me get back to, there we go. Let me go to the polls. I have this poll that's out there. I have spent over $300 in any one of those following expenses: home repairs, furniture, electronics. These are some of these expenses, again, that we don't think about very often because they only happen occasionally. So I'm going to take a moment to launch this poll. If you've spent over $300 in any one of those categories, say yes. If you haven't, say no. But I like throwing this out there and kind of get you thinking about some of these bills that might be coming up in the next couple of months. You might have a DMV registration that's due. You might have an annual auto insurance that's due. So we do have to take a look at those and plug those into our research to make sure that we're taking everything into consideration. So the fixed periodic expenses, what we just talked about. Then we have the variable ones. This is looking at clothing. This is going on vacation. This is birthday gifts. These are all the different things that are coming up that you only do sometimes, but do happen every year. It's just kind of looking at, my favorite question is, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if I don't do this right now? So a lot of these periodic expenses are discretionary. You don't have to do this. So it's a good time to ask that question before you go out and spend $40 on a new pair of sunglasses. Is this something that I have to have right now? What's the worst thing that's going to happen if I don't do this right now? Is this something that I can put off for 90 days? Those are really good questions to ask while we're going through these. The occasional ones are, people who go through the disasters, who have fires, who get into a car accident and have to pay the $500 copay. So kind of just thinking about any of these occasional expenses that might come up. And one of the worst things that I hate to talk about, but if there is someone who passes away, is this something that you're prepared for? Kind of adding that in there. Hopefully, knock on wood, that we don't have to worry about that, but something to think about. So I'm looking at the results of the poll. I have spent over $300 in one of those categories. 62% of you have said yes. So this is something I've talked about in previous webinars. We were talking about those periodic expenses, planning ahead. Hopefully, knock on wood, you don't have to do any of those big expenses, but going forward, we're going to take a look at some ways to help prepare you for those going forward. So the thing we're going to talk about is move on to the next slide. Sorry. All right, so we've written everything down. We know what all of our bills are. We know where our money is going on a monthly basis, on occasional basis, all these things that are coming up. So what I want to look at is how to prioritize those expenses, right? So we want to review, reorder, resolve, and reevaluate those expenses on a monthly basis. So we're going to talk about the reviewing. So this is looking at those bills and putting them in order, right? So reordering in order of most important to the least important. Using that question, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if I don't pay this bill today? So most financial people are going to say, having a roof over your head, having clothes on your back and food on your table, those are the three necessities. Clothing, I'm sure you have some clothes that'll get you through the next 90 days, so that's not the most important. I would also add gas and electric and water to that because we kind of need that to survive. So looking at those and putting those in the top. And then looking at the other ones and just top to bottom, you have this income that you have. And going through this list, you just kind of go down and resolve to pay the ones in the order of until you run out of money, right? So we're paying the rent, we're paying for food, and then gas and electric and water, and then everything else. Look at how important that is and what is going to happen if you don't do this, okay? So resolving to follow that plan and reaching out to possibly the creditors that you have. If you don't make a payment on a creditor, it can make a big impact on your credit. So we want you to definitely reach out to your creditors and see if there's some way before it gets 30 days past due. But don't let those unscrupulous creditors talk you into paying their $30 bill, because when we talk about, oh, it's only $30, we're going to say that, oh, it's only $30 and it's going to save your credit. Well, yeah, but that's $30 that can go towards your rent or towards your SDG&E or put food on your table. And if this is all the money that you have and we need to stretch that out over 2 or 3 months, that's the most important thing, right? So stand firm, resolve to follow your plan that you have, that with the income that you have. And then every month that goes by, you're going to reevaluate. You're going to go back and follow those same 4 R's: review, reorder, resolve, reevaluate, because the priorities could change based on the conversations that you have with certain people, right? So we want you definitely going in and looking at that. So next thing we're going to take a look at is communicating with your creditor. So this is really important because we talked about 1 30-day late payment can drop your score 2 tiers. It can make a big impact, just one. So I do want you to communicate with everybody that you have with your finances. So we're going to look at calling each of your creditors and being ready to talk to them about your situation. I have these notes on here: be ready with specifics, have a repayment plan, be honest, and follow up. So the specifics, you are going to go in and you have all your bills in place. You know what your expenses are, you know what your rent is, you know what you have to pay for these necessary expenses. And we go and say, this is all the money I have. I cannot afford to pay. I will get back to you in 30 days once I get more information, and be ready with, this is my income that I have, these are the expenses that I have, this is all I can afford. And if you don't have enough money to pay that bill, that's where you're going to stop. Again, don't let those unscrupulous creditors talk you into paying their $40 bill. Be ready, like, this is what I have a repayment plan in place, like 3 months, things will go back to normal, I can restart. Be honest. This is where we're going in, and over the past 11 years that I've been doing financial fitness, and we've gone into people writing hardship letters to their creditors, people will go in and say, I can't afford to pay this $100 minimum payment. And then we do look at your statements. So that's, be ready to have your statements ready too. We look at that statement and we say, well, you just spent $50 on getting your nails done. You spent $300 going out to dinner, and you spent $100 on Disneyland. So if we are looking at that and you can't pay 100, but you're going out doing all this frivolous stuff, that could get your hardship request denied. So being honest about your situation, and then following up. So if you tell them that you're going to call them in 30 days, make sure you call them in 30 days, even if nothing has changed in your financial situation, because what we don't want to default. We don't want to have to go through all those steps. If we can work with you and we know it's just a short-term issue, then we are going to do what we can to help you. And if you're, communicating with us, we're going to be more likely to work with you. If you just let it go and just like, I can't do anything, I'm just going to, not look at it anymore, that could actually hurt you in the long run. You're not going to get any options. And if you call the creditors, they may be able to come up with some options for you that can help you. So we're going to go on to the next one, which is talking about the options that lenders have available for you as a consumer. We have all these options on here. Now, the first one, skip a pay. This is a really easy, quick fix. This is for those short-term issues that you just call your lender and say, sometimes there's a fee involved, but it's a really quick 1-2 month. You can skip a payment and resume it in 2 or 3 months. Interest-only payments also is a fairly quick and easy process. We actually have just one form that you sign, and then maybe the interest on your car loan is $20. And if you can do $20 a month for 3 months instead of $350, that can help preserve the income that you have right now. Again, we do pull credit for this, but it's a fairly easy, quick process. If you need a longer term solution because you're feeling that the income, the crisis that you have going on right now is going to last a little bit longer than 2 or 3 months, we have loan modifications that you could also apply for. It's a little bit longer process. It does have to get reviewed by a certain group of people typically. We do pull credit. We are going to have you qualify for it, but we can maybe take your car loan and extend it. If you only owe 2 years, we can extend it out to 5 years and lower that monthly payment. The same thing with a mortgage. You can modify your mortgage and extend that out if you're having difficulty. This is for those true hardships. Now, maybe those are too short even. So we need more, and you don't want to reach out. You're just overwhelmed by the thought of calling all the creditors that you have to deal with. There are programs available that can help you. So debt management is an option for you. We usually refer members to Money Management International. And what you'll do is you'll get into a plan with them. The maximum cost is $35 a month, but they will reach out to all of your creditors, set up a reduced payment and interest plan. You'll send your payment to Money Management and they'll disperse it to all your lenders. So that's a really easy, quick call. They'll do all the work for you. So if you're just overwhelmed by everything, there is that service available. Debt settlement is one of my least favorite options. I'm putting this on here because they're out there, but I don't really like this debt settlement. So these are the companies that will tell you, we will settle the debt. We'll deal with your creditors and we'll settle the debt. So you send your money to the debt settlement. They kind of collect it, and then when they have enough, they will settle it with that company. They'll tell you to stop making all your payments. So this decimates your credit. You go 30 days past due, 60 days, 90 days, and then they're willing to settle. But 90 days past due, it's going to take you 2 years to recover from that. It just decimates, and lenders don't like to see that going forward. So I really don't like the debt settlement companies, and they typically will charge you that fee, and sometimes it doesn't even work. So it's out there as an option. If you have lump sum and you are able to make that settlement, you can reach out to them, but you could also do that on your own and not pay a fee. So there's that for you. Now, possibly you're at a position where it's just, that's not even going to help. Like the debt management, debt settlement, it's just, there's no way. It's going to take you 15 years to caught back up. Bankruptcy is an option. This is out there. I don't recommend that you do this on your own. I would recommend, now, I've been doing this for 11 years. I've only had 3 members have to file bankruptcy, so I don't have any recommendations of who to reach out to, but maybe you have friends, or, do a search on the internet and go through Yelp or something like that and find someone. But do talk to someone. You usually get a free consultation, and they'll go through, you do have to go through counseling. So but that is an option available for you. So we have this emergency plan, and this is probably not the best time to talk about saving, but I feel that it's really important to touch on, because this is, you're feeling, if you're out of income and don't kind of worried about how you're going to pay your bills, You don't want to feel this way ever again. This is why you'll hear most financial people tell you you should have 3 to 6 months of your expenses in a savings account to protect you if you have loss of income. So I am going to talk about this because I want to make sure that going forward, we can prepare you for the potential of anything like this happening again, right? So having 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, easily accessible account where you're not in immediate financial distress. If you lose income, I can pull that money in to help replace that. So it's really important, I think, to have an emergency, and it might have been difficult for you in the past to do this, right? So we have some tips on here to kind of go over that moving forward once we get past this crisis, how we build up that emergency savings. I have a completely separate account for this, and I'm doing an automatic transfer every single pay period. It's done the day I get paid, it goes, and it's not easily accessible. It's not right next to my checking account. I have it in a whole separate account. When you get a raise, like I typically will get one every year or two. And so if I just keep following the plan that I have right now, and I take that money from my raise and I put that into my savings for the next year or two, that can help that grow. Same thing with, I do that actually with my 401k contribution. If I get a raise every year, I automatically increase what's going to my 401k. There's a little tip for you. My other one is using the thirds method. So if you get bonuses or you get money back from selling something, or you get your taxes back, I have this thirds method. So what I typically do with the thirds method is I'll take a third of that, put it into my emergency savings. I'll take a third of that and I'll make an extra payment towards my debt to get that away. And then a third of it, I'm going to go guilt-free spending. So this is moving forward. Obviously, right now, if you're in a crisis, we want you to conserve. If you got that $1,100, the $1,200 fund from the economic stimulus, I put it all into my emergency savings, kind of help give that so that I can replace that income. But going forward, if I get my bonus or I get my taxes or I sold my washer and dryer for $100, I use the thirds method on every dollar that I get in. So it's third to your savings, third to the debt, third to, maybe now, 6 months from now, I can get my new Fitbit because I have the thirds method going on. So that's a way to build that. So I believe we got through this really, really quickly. I'm going to have my phone number on here. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we talked about? This is my direct phone number and my email address. Financial Fitness is a free benefit of membership with California Coast Credit Union. So you can call me directly. You can email me directly. I am happy to set up some time to go through these steps with you. And, all the things that we have on here are just a few of the resources that are available. I have a ton more. I've been doing this for 11 years. Happy to share that information with you. So do we have any questions?
Let's see. So Lori is asking, what about tapping into your 401k?
Yeah, so that is something. If you call your 401k or HR department, you can tap into that 401k, and with the CARES Act, you can do that with no penalty right now. So reach out to them and see. You just have to make sure, again, that you're aware that you're going to have to pay taxes on what you withdraw. So just be prepared for that for next year.
All right, and then we also had a question, can I call you, Taralyn, before I join the credit union?
The financial fitness program is a free benefit of membership with a credit union. And because you are a preferred partner, it doesn't cost anything for you to join, and actually we'll pay you to join the credit union. You just have to open a savings account with us. So for me to go over your personal private information, you do have to be a member. If you just have one or two questions based on this workshop, call me. I'm happy to answer, kind of general questions. But if you're wanting to review your personal information, we do have to have you join the credit union, as it is a free benefit and membership. I'm happy to talk with you about anything that's personal.
All right, and then at this time, there's a question: are our branches open so I can join? I know I can answer that question. We all of our branches are open with the exception of our branch on the SDSU campus because the campus is closed. But we do have some different hours than normal, but you can check our website, calcocu.org, or follow us on social media, and you can see our hours and when our branches are open. But they are open, they are available, and you can go visit just like any other time.
Make sure you let them know that you're a preferred partner.
And then let's see, there was a question about appliances. If we have to buy an appliance, should we forego the service plan?
If you're buying a brand new one, I typically find that the service plans are not very effective. They don't cover most everything. It's kind of interesting that it's like buying pet insurance, that if you buy pet insurance, it typically doesn't cover the things that affect most of the individual pet issues. So you just have to be careful that if you're getting it, it's not super expensive. It's going to cover the problems that if you do some research and find out what problems that appliance may have, does the insurance cover those problems? And that's what I've seen in a lot of the extended warranties, that they're not going to cover because that issue happens so often that they decided they're not going to cover that one issue. So I just be really careful. I tend to find that they're not effective financially, that it doesn't make sense, that if you're just putting money aside into a savings account for home repairs, which I have like $42 a paycheck going into home repairs, so that if I need to buy a new computer or I need to fix something, I've got the money ready for it. If you just keep doing that, if something does go wrong with the appliance, you'll have the funds for it, and it's going to be more cost effective to do it that way than to pay for the extended service.
All right, and then we did have another question. Does CalCoast have a mortgage deferral program available?
Yes. So we actually, most of our mortgages, if you are a member in good standing, we automatically deferred your payment for, I think it was 60 days. People who aren't automatically, we have certain servicers that you actually had to apply for it. But California Coast Credit Union, I know I work here and I'm biased, but I feel they've been so phenomenal for our members. They did that with all of our car loans, all of our personal loans, all of our credit cards. We automatically advanced your due date 60 days, so you didn't have a payment due for 60 days. We held that with the mortgage. So if you take a look at your account and you see that the date hasn't been advanced, reach out, call into our member service center, and we can get you to the right department to get that set up for you. We've been I feel like we've been so helpful for our members.
All right. Let's see. Someone was asking if the handouts and the PowerPoint will be available. We will be sending out this recording by email after we've finished up today, so everyone will receive a link where they can download the presentation. And then going back to some other questions, should I consider closing credit card accounts to help my credit score?
No. No, so balance to limit availability is 30% of your credit score. So if you close those accounts, you no longer have any limit availability whatsoever, and you can't increase the limit availability because you've closed it and you have no limit. If you have other credit cards that you haven't used in a while, don't close them right now. So that is one. You also, if you close a credit card, the credit bureaus only keep 10 years worth of positive information from the time you pay off or close a debt. So if you have a credit card that you've had since you were 18 and you close it and that falls off your credit history after 10 years, you've lost that length of credit history. That's 15% of your score. You've lost the balance to limit availability. That's 30% of your score. And you can't use that card to create more positive payment history, which is 35% of your score. So don't close credit cards if you're trying to improve your score, because we can use that credit card. I can go charge $5 on my credit card, pay it off right away. I'll have a recent payment reported, still have 100% of my limit available. My length of credit history just grows and grows. So we want to use that if you're trying to build your credit. This is not the time to close it. Good question.
Okay, let's see. There was a concern in regards to your response, Taralyn. It says, but if we do not close out our credit cards, will we be dinged for having too many of them?
So having too many doesn't really impact your score. So I've had 10 credit cards that I've had for over 20 years, and having that availability, so there's something that may impact a decision. If I have balances on all 10 of my credit cards and I go apply for another one, having balances on everything, that's going to impact the lending decision, and it's going to impact my score. I have, there's a guy out there who has like 30 open credit cards, but because there's no balances and he uses them occasionally, he's got an 800 credit score. So having a lot of credit cards doesn't impact your score. It could impact a decision. So if you have 30 credit cards and you're coming in and applying at CalCoast for another one, there may be that thought in the lender's mind, like, why you have all these other credit cards that you could use and you could go out tomorrow and charge them all up. So there is that thinking, but it doesn't really impact your score to have 20 credit cards, 10 credit cards, 100 credit cards if there's no balances on them. It's how you manage your credit that is really impacting your score. What's the risk that if I loan money to you, I'm going to get it back? So if you've never been late on any of your debts and you have all these credit cards, I'm actually, on the other end, I'm going to be pretty impressed how you managed all these credit cards, because I can barely keep track of the ones that I have. But having them open doesn't really impact your score.
Okay, let's see. We do have another question. Should I continue to contribute to brokerage accounts if I am not maximizing contributions to a 401k account? I already have an emergency savings and a manageable car loan.
So it depends. So I would look at two different things. One, if your 401k is matching your contributions, absolutely should be going and maxing out your contributions to get the max match. So if you're only contributing 2 and they match 3, make sure you're increasing your 401k to 3, getting the max. The other thing you're going to look at is, how are the investments doing? Right? So my 401k, I'm pretty limited on the options that I have in terms of investing. And if I go to my brokerage, I have everything available to invest into. If I take a look and compare them, that's what I want to look at, which is doing better. And if I can afford it, I want to go with the one who's doing better. Does that make sense?
Okay, so just waiting to see if any more questions come in. And it looks like we don't have any other questions at this point. So if you do have any questions in the future, please feel free to contact Taralyn, of course. Her information's on the front screen there. And thank you, Taralyn, for your presentation today. Great info as always.
Thank you.
And just a quick note on the evaluation form. Please feel free to download that from the handout section and send that over to my email address, jantis@calcocu.org. You should see my email address in the chat box. So thank you for everyone for joining us today, and we will see you next time.
Stay safe, everybody. Bye.